You are listening to HOA Consequences. She loved theft accusations because they stuck fast. Karen held a small tool case and yelled that it disappeared after I was seen near the garage. You picked the wrong person to push. Her voice carried across the entire parking strip, and I could see curtains moving in at least 3 windows. Tracy Benson, events director for the Canyon Trails Community Association in Richmond, Virginia, stood between me and my car with her arms crossed and that laminated guideline sheet she loved waving around, without ever letting anyone actually read it. My shift started in 40 minutes, and my phone was already lighting up with ride requests I could not accept, because I was trapped in my own driveway dealing with this. She stepped closer and held the case up like it was a murder weapon. This disappeared from the common garage yesterday afternoon right after you were down there moving boxes. I saw you. Someone else saw you. And now, it is gone. Her voice had that tight, self-righteous edge she used when she wanted everyone within earshot to know she was enforcing community standards. I took a breath and kept my hands visible. I was moving my own stuff from my own storage locker. I did not touch anything that was not mine. She snorted. Then explained why this was locked in the garage cabinet on Saturday, and now it is missing. You are the only one who had access. That was a lie, and we both knew it. The common garage had a keypad lock, and the code had been the same 4 digits for 2 years. Half the neighborhood knew it. I need to get to work. We can talk about this later. She shook her head and pulled out her phone. No, we are handling this now. This community has standards, and I am not letting someone who steals from common property just walk away. The phrase landed like a slap. I felt my jaw tighten. I did not steal anything. Prove it, she said, and smiled. Prove you did not take it. You were there. The case is gone. That is all I need. I glanced past her and saw my neighbor 2 units down standing on his porch with his coffee mug, watching. Another neighbor was getting into her car, but had stopped with the door open. Tracy loved an audience. My phone buzzed again. Another ride request I had to decline. I drive rideshare, and my schedule is built around tight windows. Every minute I stood here was money I was losing, and a passenger I was leaving stranded. Tracy knew that. She had complained about my car being in the driveway during peak hours before, even though I was always parked legally in my assigned spot. You are lucky I am not harsher, she said, lowering her voice just enough that it felt like a private threat. I could have already called the police, but I wanted to give you a chance to return it and apologize. I do not have it. Then you will not mind if I check your car. She took a step toward my driver's side door. I moved to block her. You are not searching my car. She stopped, and her expression shifted to something colder. Then I guess we do this the official way. She tapped her phone screen a few times, then held it to her ear. Yes, I need to report a theft in our community. Canyon Trails, Richmond. The suspect is standing right here. My heart kicked. She was not actually calling the police. She was calling someone, but it was not 911. I heard a man's voice on the other end, too casual for dispatch. Tracy nodded along. Yes, that is correct. The same person we discussed. He has been seen multiple times near restricted areas, and now property is missing. She paused. Thank you. I will keep him here. She hung up and looked at me with something close to satisfaction. A tow driver says someone called in a complaint about me, and she acts proud. Wait, what? A tow complaint? For what? My car is in my assigned spot. She tucked her phone into her pocket. The complaint is not about your parking. It is about your behavior. I have documentation of multiple violations, and the tow company is aware. If you do not cooperate, they will be here within the hour to remove your vehicle for community safety reasons. I stared at her. That is not how towing works. You cannot just call a tow company and make up a reason. She waved the laminated sheet again, still holding it too close to her chest for me to read a single line. The Canyon Trails guidelines allow for immediate action when a resident poses a threat to property or safety. I have the authority to make that determination. You do not, I said, but my voice sounded weaker than I wanted. I pulled out my phone and opened my rideshare app. I needed to get on the road, or I was going to lose my income for the day. Tracy stepped sideways to block my car door again. I am not done. I looked at her, and then at the neighbors who were still watching. My neighbor with the coffee mug had his phone out now, probably filming. I took a breath and made a decision. If you are accusing me of theft, then file a police report. Give me a case number. Let an actual officer investigate, otherwise, move. Her smile thinned. I do not need to file a report to enforce community rules. I have a witness who will confirm you were in the garage. I have the missing property documented. And I have a vendor who identified you as the person they saw near the cabinet. That last part was new. What vendor? She folded her arms. The contractor who was doing maintenance in the garage. He saw you. I asked him directly and he confirmed it. That was a lie. I had seen the maintenance guy once, 2 weeks ago, and we had nodded at each other in passing. He had been working on the overhead door track. He had not been anywhere near the storage cabinets, and I had not touched anything. I need his name. If he is making an accusation, I want to talk to him. Tracy shook her head. I am not giving you his contact information so you can intimidate him. He gave me a statement, and that is enough. This is ridiculous, I said louder now. You are making things up. You have no evidence. You have no witness. You are just trying to bully me because you do not like that I work nights, and you think my car makes the street look busy. She flinched, just slightly, and I knew I had hit close to the truth. She had been complaining about my work schedule for months, always wrapped in language about community standards and property values. She pulled a clipboard out of her shoulder bag, the clear plastic sleeve catching the morning light. I have everything I need right here. Timestamps, witness statements, photos of the missing case. And if you do not return the property by noon today, I will be forwarding this to your employer with a formal complaint about theft and harassment. My stomach dropped. She would do it. She had threatened to contact my job before, over a noise complaint that turned out to be someone else's dog. The rideshare company does not care about HOA drama, I said, but I was not sure that was true. They had a policy about driver conduct and criminal accusations. If she sent them something that looked official, they might suspend me while they investigated, and I could not afford to lose even a week of income. Tracy stepped back and raised her voice just enough for the neighbors to hear clearly. I am giving you until noon to return the case and issue a written apology to the board. If you do not comply, I will have no choice but to escalate. She turned and walked toward the mailbox cluster at the end of the row, her clipboard swinging at her side. I stood there with my phone in my hand and my car keys digging into my palm. The neighbor with the coffee mug was still filming. The woman by her car had gotten in, but had not driven away yet. I felt like I was on stage, and everyone was waiting to see what I would do next. I got in my car and started the engine. My hands were shaking. I had 20 minutes to get to my first pickup, and I was already going to be late. I backed out and drove toward the main road, my mind racing. Tracy had just threatened my livelihood over a toolbox I had never seen, using a witness who did not exist, and a tow driver who was apparently on speed dial. I needed proof. I needed something concrete that would shut her down before she made good on any of those threats. I pulled over 2 blocks away and opened my messages. My friend Carlos had been telling me for weeks to get a doorbell camera after the last HOA blow-up. I had finally installed one 3 days ago. I pulled up the app and scrolled back to yesterday afternoon. There. 4:10 in the afternoon. I had been at my storage locker in the common garage, moving boxes of winter clothes to make room for work supplies. The camera angle caught the hallway leading to the garage entrance and part of the parking area. I watched myself walk in with 2 boxes, walk out 6 minutes later with the same 2 boxes, and load them into my car. No detour to any cabinet, no toolbox. I checked the timestamp. Tracy claimed the case went missing yesterday afternoon, right after I was there. But the camera showed I had been in and out in under 10 minutes, and I had not gone near the storage cabinets on the far wall. I saved the clip and kept scrolling. At 4:40, a different figure appeared. Tracy in the same gray rain jacket she was wearing this morning, walking into the garage with an empty canvas bag. She was in frame for less than 3 seconds before the angle cut off, but it was enough. She had been there. After me. I felt a surge of something that was not quite relief and not quite anger. I had proof I had not taken the case, but I did not have proof she had. Not yet. I texted Carlos. "You awake? I need help." He replied in under a minute. "Always." What happened? I sent him the clip and a voice message explaining the confrontation. He called me immediately. "Man, she is trying to set you up. You see that, right?" "I see it. But I do not know how to prove it without making things worse." He was quiet for a second. "You have the camera footage. That is something. But you need more. You need someone who will back you up in front of witnesses." He paused. "I know a guy who does property management audits. He is not cheap, but he can pull records if the HOA is hiding something. I do not have time for that." She said noon. That is 3 hours. Then you need to move fast. Get copies of everything. Check if anyone else has cameras pointing at that garage. And do not let her corner you alone again. Always have a witness. I thanked him and hung up. My first passenger was calling. I ignored it and kept driving. I circled back to Canyon Trails and parked on the street outside the complex. I walked to the mailbox cluster where Tracy had gone earlier. She was not there now, but I saw her car in the guest lot. I pulled out my phone and called the community management office. It rang 4 times before someone picked up. "Canyon Trails Management. This is Denise." "Hi. I am a resident and I need to request access to the incident log for the common garage." There was a pause. "Can I ask what this is regarding?" "There was a theft reported, and I need to see the documentation." Another pause, longer this time. "You will need to submit that request in writing. Email it to our main address, and we will respond within 5 business days." "I do not have 5 days. This is urgent. I am sorry, but that is our policy." I hung up and resisted the urge to throw my phone. 5 business days meant Tracy had time to do whatever she wanted. I needed a faster route. I texted my neighbor, the one who had been filming. "Hey, do you still have that video from this morning?" He replied right away. "Yeah." You want me to send it? Please. And if you have any other cameras that might have caught the garage area yesterday, I need that too. He sent me the video within 2 minutes. It was shaky, and the audio was muffled, but it clearly showed Tracy blocking my car and making accusations. It also caught her threat about my employer. I saved it and kept walking. I reached my unit and went inside. I had 2 hours before Tracy's deadline, and I needed to use them. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Canyon Trails community portal. Every resident had an account for paying dues and submitting maintenance requests. I logged in and navigated to the incident reports section. There were 3 entries from the past week. 2 were about noise complaints. The third was dated yesterday at 5:15 in the evening. Theft of community property from common garage. Suspect identified. Case under review. No details. No photos. No witness names. Just a vague entry that made it sound like the matter was already decided. I took a screenshot. I kept digging. The portal had a section for board communications. I scrolled back 3 months and found a pattern. Tracy had filed at least 6 complaints about me. Excessive vehicle activity, unapproved work hours, failure to maintain quiet hours, disruptive guest parking. None of them had been forwarded to me. None of them had any evidence attached. They were just accusations, logged into the system, building a paper trail. I felt my chest tighten. She had been setting this up for months. I took screenshots of everything and saved them to a cloud folder. Then I checked the timestamps. 3 of the complaints had been filed within minutes of each other on the same night. The metadata showed they had all been created from the same IP address at nearly the same second. She had batch uploaded them. That was my twist. The same device uploaded multiple complaint forms minutes apart. She had not even tried to make it look organic. I heard a knock at my door. I closed the laptop and checked the peephole. It was my neighbor from 2 doors down, the one Carlos and I called Marianne. She was retired and spent most of her time on the community garden committee. I opened the door. "Hey." She looked worried. "I just wanted to check on you. I saw what happened this morning. Tracy is telling people you stole something. I did not. I have proof." She nodded slowly. "I believe you. But you should know she is pressuring people to sign a complaint. She came to my door 20 minutes ago with a petition. I stopped her before she could finish the pitch. But I think she is going to other units." My stomach dropped. "What kind of petition?" "She wants residents to formally request your removal from the community for theft and harassment. She has a clipboard, and she is going door to door right now." I grabbed my phone and my keys. "Where is she now?" Marianne pointed toward the east side of the complex. She was heading toward the Hendersons, that is 4 units from here. "I need to stop her." Marianne touched my arm. "Be careful. She has that clipboard, and she is acting like she has official authority. People are going to believe her if you do not have something solid. I have video. I have timestamps. I have proof she has been fabricating complaints for months." Her eyes widened. "Then you need to show people. Now. Before she gets enough signatures to make this look legitimate." I nodded and headed out. I found Tracy 3 units down, standing on a porch with her clipboard and talking to a middle-aged man I recognized from HOA meetings. She saw me coming, and her expression shifted to something I could only describe as triumphant. She raised her voice. "Here he is now. Mr. Henderson, this is the person I was telling you about." The man looked uncomfortable. He glanced at me, then at Tracy, then back at his door like he wanted to escape. Tracy held up the clipboard. I just need your signature to confirm you support the board's efforts to maintain a safe community. I stepped onto the sidewalk below the porch. Do not sign that. She is lying. Tracy turned to me with fake surprise. Excuse me? You are harassing a resident. I suggest you leave before I call security. We do not have security, I said. And you do not have the authority to collect signatures for a petition that does not exist. She smiled. The board authorized this action this morning. We have the right to gather resident input on safety concerns. I pulled out my phone and held it up. Then you will not mind if I record this. She hesitated, just for a second, and I saw the calculation in her eyes. She could not afford to look like she was hiding something in front of a witness. Go ahead, she said. I have nothing to hide. I opened my camera app and hit record. For the record, Tracy Benson is currently going door to door claiming I stole a toolbox from the common garage. She is asking residents to sign a petition to have me removed. Tracy, can you show Mr. Henderson the evidence you have? She held the clipboard closer to her chest. I do not have to share investigative materials with you. You are the suspect. I am also a resident with the right to see any accusations made against me. Show him the photos. Show him the witness statement. Show him anything. She did not move. Mr. Henderson shifted his weight. I think I am going to stay out of this. He stepped back inside and closed the door. Tracy glared at me. You just cost yourself a supporter. I shook my head. I cost you a signature. There is a difference. She turned and walked toward the next unit. I followed, keeping my phone up. She knocked on the next door. No one answered. She moved to the one after that. A younger woman opened the door and Tracy launched into her pitch before I could say anything. This will only take a moment. We are collecting signatures to address a serious safety issue involving theft of community property. The woman looked past Tracy and saw me filming. What is going on? I am the person she is accusing. I did not steal anything and I have proof. Tracy spun around. Stop interfering. This is official board business. I stayed where I was. If it is official, then you should have no problem sharing the documentation. The woman looked between us. I am not signing anything until I know what this is really about. She closed the door. Tracy turned on me, her face flushed. You are making this worse for yourself. I have a tow truck on standby, and if you do not stop harassing me, I will have your car removed right now. I kept the phone steady. Go ahead. Call them. Let everyone see you abuse your position. She pulled out her phone, and I heard her dial. My heart was pounding, but I kept my expression neutral. She held the phone to her ear. Yes, this is Tracy Benson from Canyon Trails. I need you to come now. The situation has escalated. She listened for a second, then her face changed. What do you mean you need authorization paperwork? I gave you verbal approval this morning. She listened again, her jaw tightening. Fine. I will send it. She hung up and looked at me. You think you are clever. You are just delaying the inevitable. She walked back toward the parking lot. I followed at a distance, still recording. She got into her car and drove toward the management office at the front of the complex. I got into my own car and called Carlos. She is trying to get a tow company to take my car without paperwork. I need a lawyer. He was quiet for a beat. I know someone who does tenant-landlord disputes. Close enough for HOA stuff. Want me to call him? Yes. And I need you to come here. I might need a witness. He said he would be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and checked the time. It was almost 11. I had an hour before Tracy's deadline. I drove to the management office and parked in the visitor lot. Inside, the office was small and outdated, with fake wood paneling and fluorescent lights that buzzed. Denise, the woman I had spoken to on the phone, sat behind the desk. Tracy was standing in front of her, leaning over the counter. I need you to issue a formal trespass warning for Unit 42. The resident has been harassing me and interfering with board business. Denise looked up and saw me. She straightened. He is right here. Tracy turned. Her expression was stone. I am filing a formal complaint. He followed me. He recorded me without consent. He disrupted an official petition drive. I stepped closer. Virginia is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I am part of. And your petition is not official because the board did not authorize it. You are acting on your own. Tracy pulled out her phone and showed Denise something on the screen. I have the email right here. The board president approved my request this morning. Denise leaned in and read. After a moment, she looked at me. It looks like she does have approval to gather feedback on community safety concerns. That is not the same as a petition to remove a resident. And she has not provided any evidence of theft. I looked at Denise. I need to file a counter-complaint. Tracy has been harassing me, making false accusations, and fabricating incident reports. I have proof. Denise hesitated. You will need to submit that in writing. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. I am sending it now. I attached the screenshots, the doorbell footage, and the video from this morning. Sent. Denise's computer chimed. She opened the email and started scrolling. Her expression changed as she read. Tracy watched her. What is he sending you? Denise did not answer right away. She kept scrolling. Finally, she looked up. I am going to need to escalate this to the property manager. Both of you need to leave the office while I review the materials. Tracy leaned over the counter. I need that trespass warning issued now. Denise shook her head. Not until I have reviewed the complaint and the counter-complaint. Please step outside. Tracy did not move. This is unacceptable. I am a board member and I have the authority to request immediate action. Denise stood up. You are a volunteer board member. I am a paid employee of the management company, and I do not issue warnings without proper review. Now please leave, or I will call the police. That got Tracy moving. She grabbed her clipboard and walked out, brushing past me hard enough that I had to step aside. I stayed where I was. Denise looked at me. I will call you within the hour. I nodded and left. Outside, Tracy was on her phone again, pacing near her car. I heard her say, I do not care what the paperwork says. I need the vehicle removed today. She saw me watching and turned her back. I walked to my car and sat inside with the door open. My phone rang. It was Carlos. I am 5 minutes out. Where are you? Management office parking lot. Tracy is here too. She is trying to get a tow company to take my car. He swore under his breath. Do not let her near your vehicle. If she tries anything, call the cops. I will. He hung up. I watched Tracy finish her call and get into her car. She sat there for a long moment, staring at her phone. Then she got out and walked back toward the office. She knocked on the door. Denise opened it, but did not let her in. I could not hear what they were saying, but I saw Denise shake her head and close the door. Tracy stood there for a few seconds. then turned and saw me again. She walked over. I stayed in my seat with the door open. "You are not going to win this," she said. "I have documentation. I have witnesses. I have the board behind me." I looked up at her. "You have fabricated reports and imaginary witnesses. I have video proof and metadata that shows you have been filing fake complaints for months." Her expression flickered. "You do not know what you are talking about." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot of the complaint timestamps. 3 complaints filed in the same minute from the same device. "You did not even try to hide it." She stepped back. "That is private board business. It is fraud. And now it is evidence." She opened her mouth to respond, but stopped. I heard an engine and turned. A tow truck was pulling into the lot. Tracy smiled. "Looks like you are out of time." The driver got out. He was older, maybe 60, with a company logo on his shirt. He looked at Tracy. "You the one who called?" She nodded. "This is the vehicle. It needs to be removed immediately for community safety." The driver looked at my car, then at me. "What is the violation?" Tracy pulled out her clipboard. "The owner is under investigation for theft and harassment. I have board authorization to request removal." The driver scratched his jaw. "I am going to need to see paperwork. A work order signed by the property owner or a police report." She stiffened. "I gave you verbal authorization this morning." He shook his head. "That is not how it works. I need something in writing or I do not touch the car." Liability. Tracy pulled out her phone. "I will get you the paperwork right now." The driver leaned against his truck. "I will wait." She walked a few steps away and made a call. I got out of my car. The driver looked at me. "This your car?" "Yes." "Legally parked in my assigned spot." He nodded. "Then I am not towing it without proper cause." She keeps saying she has authorization, but she has not shown you anything? "Just a clipboard with some notes." "That is not enough." I heard another engine and turned. Carlos was pulling in. He parked next to me and got out. What did I miss? Tow driver showed up, but he is refusing to move the car without paperwork. Carlos grinned. "Good. That means she is scrambling." Tracy finished her call and walked back over. "The paperwork is being emailed now." The driver pulled out his phone. "What is the email?" She rattled off an address. He checked. "Nothing yet." Tracy crossed her arms. "It will be there any second. The property manager is sending it." Carlos stepped forward. "Hi, I am a friend of the resident. Can I ask what the alleged violation is?" Tracy glared at him. "This does not concern you." He smiled. "If you are about to tow a car based on false accusations, it concerns anyone who lives in a community with an HOA that abuses power." She turned to the driver. "Are you going to wait for the email or not?" He shrugged. "I will give it 5 minutes. After that, I have other calls." She nodded and walked back to her car. Carlos leaned close to me. "You get anything solid?" I showed him the screenshots and the video. He whistled. "This is good. You need to get this in front of someone official." "A lawyer? A cop?" "I do not know yet. Denise is reviewing everything, but she said it could take time." He looked at Tracy, who was sitting in her car with her phone pressed to her ear. She is panicking. That is when people make mistakes. The driver checked his phone again. Still nothing. He looked at Tracy. "I am heading out. If you get the paperwork, Call dispatch and we will send someone back. He got into his truck and started the engine. Tracy jumped out of her car. Wait! It is coming. I know it is. He waved and pulled out of the lot. She stood there, staring after him, her clipboard hanging at her side. Carlos laughed quietly. That is a vendor refusing to cooperate without proper authorization. I looked at him. That is exactly what it is. Tracy turned and saw us watching. She walked over, her face tight with anger. This is not over. You can delay all you want, but the board is meeting tonight, and you will be formally suspended from all community amenities pending investigation. I pulled out my phone. What time is the meeting? She hesitated. 7. I will be there. She shook her head. You are not allowed. Residents under investigation are barred from attending board sessions. That is not in the bylaws. Yes, it is. Show me. She held up the laminated sheet again, waving it just out of reach. It is right here. Let me see it. She pulled it back. You do not have the right to demand access to board materials. Carlos stepped in. Actually, he does. HOA bylaws are public record for all residents. Refusal to provide access is a violation of state law. Tracy's face went red. You do not know what you are talking about. Want to test that? He pulled out his phone. I can call my attorney right now and have him file a records request. She spun and walked toward the management office. Carlos and I followed. She knocked on the door. Denise opened it, looking exhausted. I need to file a formal complaint about harassment. These two are following me and threatening legal action. Denise looked past her at us. Is that true? Carlos held up his phone. I offered to help him request public records. That is his legal right. Denise sighed. Everyone needs to leave the property. I will contact you when I have completed my review. Tracy started to argue, but Denise cut her off. That includes you. Go home. I will call you. Tracy stood there for a long moment, then turned and walked to her car. She got in and drove away without looking back. Carlos and I walked back to my car. He leaned against the hood. So what is the plan? I checked the time. It was noon. I go to that board meeting and I show them everything. He nodded. You need to be ready for her to fight dirty. She already is. I know. But she is going to escalate. Expect her to have fake witnesses, fake documents, anything she can throw at you to make you look guilty. I will. Thanks for coming. He clapped me on the shoulder. Text me after the meeting. I want to know how it goes. I will. He got in his car and left. I sat in mine for a few minutes, trying to slow my heart rate. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Marianne. Tracy was just at my door again. She wanted me to sign a statement saying, I saw you acting suspicious. I told her no. She did not take it well. I replied, Thank you. Stay safe. She is getting desperate. Marianne sent back a thumbs up. I drove home and spent the afternoon pulling together everything I had. Video files, screenshots, metadata logs. I organized it into a folder and saved it on a thumb drive. I also printed copies in case the board tried to claim technical difficulties. At 6:30, I drove back to the clubhouse where the meetings were held. It was a small building at the center of the complex, with a meeting room that held maybe 30 people. When I walked in, Tracy was already there, sitting at the front table with 2 other board members. She saw me and her expression went cold. You are not supposed to be here. I took a seat in the back row. Bylaws say residents can attend unless the session is executive. This is not executive. One of the other board members, a man in his 50s I recognized as the treasurer, leaned over and said something to Tracy. She shook her head and pointed at me. He looked uncomfortable but did not argue. The meeting started at 7. There were maybe 10 other residents scattered around the room. The board president, a woman named Linda, opened with standard business: budget updates, landscaping bids, pool maintenance schedule. Then she looked at her notes. We have one item under new business: a resident conduct investigation. Tracy stood up. Thank you. I will present. She pulled out her clipboard and faced the room. Over the past several days, we have received multiple reports of suspicious behavior involving a resident in Unit 42. Property has gone missing from common areas, and we have reason to believe this individual is responsible. I would like the board to authorize a formal suspension of amenities and parking privileges pending a full investigation. Linda looked at me. Do you want to respond? I stood up. Yes. Tracy is lying. I did not steal anything, and I have proof. Tracy turned. This is exactly the kind of disruptive behavior we have been seeing. He has harassed me. He has interfered with official board business. He has threatened legal action. I pulled out the thumb drive. I have video evidence, metadata logs, and witness statements that prove Tracy has been fabricating complaints and harassing me for months. I would like to present them now. Linda hesitated. Tracy jumped in. Those materials are inadmissible. He obtained them without proper authorization. That is not how evidence works, I said. These are my own doorbell camera files and public records from the community portal. Linda looked between us. I think we should see what he has. Tracy sat down hard, her face tight. I walked to the front and plugged the thumb drive into the projector laptop. The screen lit up. I started with the doorbell footage from yesterday. Here is the timestamp showing I was in the garage for less than 10 minutes. I did not go near the storage cabinets. I did not take anything. The room was silent. I pulled up the next clip. And here is Tracy entering the garage 40 minutes later with an empty bag. Murmurs started. I switched to the screenshots. Here are the complaint timestamps. 3 forms filed in the same minute from the same device. She fabricated these to build a case against me. Tracy stood up. That is private board business. You had no right to access that. It is in the resident portal. Anyone can see it. She looked at Linda. This is a violation of privacy. I want him removed. Linda held up a hand. Let him finish. I pulled up the video from this morning. Here is Tracy threatening to report me to my employer, blocking my car, and claiming she has a witness who does not exist. The room was dead quiet now. I looked at the board. She has been using her position to harass me, fabricate evidence, and intimidate vendors. I am asking the board to remove her from her role and issue a formal apology. Tracy slammed her hand on the table. This is a setup. He is trying to distract from his own theft. Prove it, I said. Show the board the toolbox. Show them the witness statement. Show them anything real. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Linda looked at the treasurer. Do we have any documentation of the theft? He shook his head. Just the incident report Tracy filed. No photos, no witness names. Linda turned to Tracy. Did you file a police report? Tracy hesitated. I was waiting for the board to authorize it. Why would you need authorization to report a crime? She did not answer. Linda looked at me. Do you have anything else? One more thing. I pulled up my phone and opened the speaker. I have a witness on the line who saw Tracy with the missing toolbox this morning. I called Marianne. She answered immediately. Hi, can you tell the board what you saw this morning? Marianne's voice came through clear. I saw Tracy carrying a small tool case from the garage to her car around 8. She was putting it in her trunk when I walked by. She told me she was taking it to get repaired. The room exploded. Residents started talking over each other. Tracy stood up, shaking. That is a lie. She is covering for him. Marianne kept going. I also saw her going door to door this afternoon, trying to get people to sign a petition against him. She told me he was dangerous. I refused to sign. Linda held up both hands. Everyone quiet. She looked at Tracy. Did you take the toolbox? No. Then where is it? Tracy did not answer. Linda turned to the treasurer. I am calling an emergency executive session. All residents except board members need to leave. I unplugged the thumb drive. Before I go, I want it on record that I am filing a formal complaint against Tracy Benson for harassment, defamation, and abuse of authority. Linda nodded. Noted. Everyone out. I walked out with the other residents. Marianne was waiting in the hallway. She smiled. I hope that helped. It did. Thank you. She squeezed my arm. She has been doing this to people for years. It is about time someone stood up to her. I went home and waited. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Linda. The board has voted to suspend Tracy from her role, pending a full investigation. We are also referring the matter to the property management company and recommending they involve law enforcement. I felt my shoulders drop. Thank you. She sighed. I owe you an apology. We should have looked into this sooner. I appreciate that. She hung up. I sat on my couch and stared at the ceiling. It was not over yet, but it was a start. The next morning, I got a call from Denise. The property manager wants to meet with you. Can you come to the office at 10? I can. I drove over and found a man I had never seen before waiting in the conference room. He introduced himself as Greg, the regional property manager. He had a folder in front of him. I have reviewed all the materials you submitted. I also spoke with the board and with several other residents. It is clear that Miss Benson has been abusing her position. We are terminating her access to the community portal and removing her from all board committees. What about the theft? He nodded. We contacted her this morning and requested the return of the toolbox. She claims she was borrowing it for a community event and forgot to log it. That is a lie. I know. But without a police report, we cannot pursue criminal charges. However, we are filing an internal incident report, and she will not be allowed to hold any leadership role in this community going forward. I leaned back. What about me? Your record is clear. All complaints filed by Miss Benson have been removed from the system. You will receive a formal letter of apology from the board. That is it? He looked uncomfortable. We are also implementing new policies to prevent this kind of abuse in the future. Complaint forms will require corroborating evidence. Board members will be required to disclose conflicts of interest. And all resident access logs will be audited quarterly. It is not enough, I said. She tried to destroy my livelihood. She harassed me. She lied to vendors and neighbors. And she gets to walk away with a slap on the wrist? Greg folded his hands. If you want to pursue further action, that is your right. But the HOA is limited in what we can do. I left the office and sat in my car. Carlos called. How did it go? She is suspended, but they are not pressing charges. He swore. You going to sue? I do not know. I just want this to be over. He was quiet for a second. You did good. You stood up for yourself and you proved she was lying. That is a win. I know. It just does not feel like enough. Give it time. He hung up. I drove home and tried to get back to normal. For a few days, it was quiet. Then I got a text from a number I did not recognize. This is Tracy. We need to talk. I stared at the screen. Then I blocked the number. 2 hours later, my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. It was Tracy, standing on my porch with a cardboard box. I opened the door, but left the screen closed. What do you want? She held up the box. I am returning the toolbox. I wanted to apologize. I stayed where I was. You can leave it on the porch. She set it down. I made a mistake. I was under a lot of stress and I handled it poorly. I am sorry. I looked at her. You accused me of theft. You tried to get me fired. You harassed my neighbors. You fabricated evidence. And now you are sorry? She looked down. I know I went too far. I just want to move on. I opened the screen door and picked up the box. If you contact me again, I am filing a restraining order. She flinched. I am trying to make this right. You are trying to cover yourself. Now leave. She stood there for a long moment, then turned and walked away. I brought the box inside and opened it. The toolbox was there, along with a handwritten note. I am sorry for the misunderstanding. I hope we can both move forward. I tore up the note and threw it away. The next week, I got a call from the HOA's insurance company. They wanted to interview me about the harassment claim. I spent an hour on the phone walking them through everything. The representative sounded concerned. We are going to recommend that the association implement mandatory training for all board members. We are also flagging this as a potential liability issue. What does that mean? It means if Ms. Benson engages in similar behavior in the future, the association could lose coverage. We take harassment very seriously. I thanked her and hung up. A few days later, Linda called. The HOA is warned by their insurer about harassment exposure, and they panic. We have been told we need to take immediate steps to address the situation, or we could lose our insurance. What kind of steps? Mandatory board training, new complaint procedures, and a formal policy prohibiting retaliation. She paused. We are also voting to censure Tracy and bar her from holding office for 5 years. That got my attention. When? Next board meeting. I will let you know the outcome. The meeting happened 2 days later. I did not attend, but Marianne texted me updates. They voted to censure Tracy. She tried to argue, but they shut her down. Management also told her to stop contacting vendors on behalf of the HOA. That was it. Karen is told to stop contacting vendors on behalf of the HOA. I felt a flicker of satisfaction. It was not everything, but it was something. The following week, I was leaving for a shift when I saw Tracy in the parking lot. She was loading boxes into her car. I kept walking. She saw me and stopped. I just want you to know I am moving out. I did not respond. She kept going. I hope you are happy. You destroyed my reputation. I turned. You destroyed your own reputation when you decided to lie and steal. She looked like she wanted to say something else, but I got in my car and drove away. I never saw her again. A month later, I got a letter from the board. It was a formal apology signed by Linda and the other members. We deeply regret the harassment and false accusations you experienced. We have taken steps to ensure this does not happen again. Please accept our sincere apologies. I filed it away. A week after that, I got a check in the mail. It was a refund for the fees Tracy had tried to charge me, plus a small settlement for the time I had lost dealing with the situation. It was not much, but it felt like closure. Carlos came over that night and we sat on my porch. So it is really over? I think so. He grinned. You know what the best part is? What? Karen says she has witnesses, and the witness turns and says, actually no. I laughed. That was pretty good. He raised his beer. To standing up to HOA tyrants. I clinked my bottle against his. To proof and patience. The neighborhood settled back into quiet. I kept my doorbell camera running. I kept my records organized. And I kept driving my shifts, knowing that I had fought back and won. It was not a perfect victory, but it was mine. A few months later, I ran into Marianne at the mailbox cluster. She smiled. I heard Tracy is living in an apartment across town now. No HOA. I heard that too. She shook her head. I still cannot believe she thought she could get away with it. People like that always think they are untouchable, until they are not. Exactly. She patted my shoulder. You did a good thing. A lot of people were too scared to stand up to her. You were not. I appreciate that. She walked back to her unit and I stood there for a moment, looking at the row of townhouses. Canyon Trails was not perfect, but it was home, and I had made sure it stayed that way. The final piece came a few weeks later when I got a call from a deputy I had spoken to during the investigation. He had filed an incident report at my request, mostly for documentation. He called to tell me the case was closed. Miss Benson did not contest the findings. We have it on record that she made false accusations and engaged in harassment. If she tries anything like this again, you have a paper trail. I thanked him and hung up. That was the last official piece. Everything else was just living. I kept working. I kept my head down. And I kept my evidence organized, just in case. But Tracy was gone. The new board was cautious and professional. And the neighborhood was quieter without her constant complaints and confrontations. It was not revenge, exactly. But it was justice. And that was enough. I will catch you in the next upload.